And I now invite the school board candidates to approach their podium.
And I forgot to say one thing. This is a fire hall. Exits are here and here. Back to that building wherever you want.
Prior to the beginning of the evening, the candidates drew straws to see who would go first, and Dr. McQuilkin drew the straw to begin our evening. So, Dr. McQuilkin, your opening remarks, please.
Thank you. I think you're wondering why I'm here this evening, and I'm going to talk about a story that I heard just recently about someone very dear to your hearts, Bob Goodlatte. It seems that Bob Goodlatte came before a group of people in similar circumstance, and somebody asked him at the end of the time, why did you do this? And he said, because everybody here is my constituent, and we want to be with our constituents whether we agree with them or we don't agree with them. So I'd like to know, with a show of hands, who will be voting or registered voters in District 4? Good, because you're my constituents, as Bob Goodlatte would say. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself for those of you who do not know me. Charlotte McQuilkin, married to David McQuilkin, who is sitting right there. You can wave, dear. We have 2 children. We have a son, Brad, who is graduated from Turner Ashby High School in 1989. And we have a daughter, Meredith, who graduated from Turner Ashby High School in 1988. No, reverse. Brad was 88, Meredith was 89, because Brad's first. And we have 2 grandchildren, so I'm happy for you. But I'd like you to know that I've spent a lot of time in the school system, 37 years, from a teacher all the way up to the school board. I'm very versed on this school division. I'm passionate about this school division, and I'm invested in this school division. Is that my time?
You have a couple of seconds.
Oh, I have a couple seconds. Good. And because of that, I spend a great deal of time paying attention to what happens.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sarah, your 2-minute opening, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Hurst. I'm a local mom, married to a local fellow. This is my husband, Chris, over here. We have 3 children. One is a freshman at TA, one is a 6th grader at Penn's, and we have a 1st grader in a private school. Our community roots run deep. I've lived in Rockingham County my entire life. I'm a TA graduate, proud Turner Ashby graduate. I also have a background in education, and I spent the last 14 years working for Rockingham County Public Schools as a teacher in an elementary school. I've taught multiple grade levels. I've also gotten my reading specialist degree and spent some time doing that as well. So I know education. I know it really well. I know it from the inside out. I know what's going on. I know why it's going on. I understand the decisions that are being made from multiple levels. I'm aware of what's going on that most of the public doesn't know. And that's what concerned me when I resigned from teaching. And here I am a parent, just like many of you. I'm parenting kids in the 21st century. I'm concerned about cell phone use, social media. I'm concerned about the books that are in our libraries. I'm concerned about how we're handling issues with gender ideologies, things like that. Those things concern me, and I felt like I could do a good service for my community by stepping forward and leading our community. I also chose, controversial or not, I chose to get endorsed by the Republican Party, and here's why. School board races are supposed to be nonpartisan. They're supposed to be, but they haven't been for so long. So many candidates run as independent, but that's not truly who they are. I wanted you all to know who I am, my values, where I stand, what I believe in.
Thank you. First question, Dr. McQuilkin. Prior to COVID, our reading and math scores were declining. Now, according to the Public School Review, Rockingham County Public Schools has scored that rank in the bottom 50% for reading and math in the state of Virginia when compared to other Virginia school districts. What do you think our district should be doing to improve these scores?
Thank you for the question. I don't know if many of you know, but I was the testing coordinator at Rockingham County Schools, the very first testing coordinator they ever had, director of testing, and we began the quest of passing the SOL test and doing very well. I can't speak for, yes I can speak, I will speak about what has happened, but I can tell you from the time that I was the testing director from 1999 to 2014, we were one of the top divisions in the entire state regarding testing. In fact, all of our schools were fully accredited all the time, and I even could pull the papers to show you that that is the case. Then we had a change in superintendents, and we think Dr. Scheichel did an outstanding job, but the testing was not one of his high priorities. And we began to slip a little bit, and I'm sure I did not recognize that this was the case, but it's not surprising. But I talked with Dr. Shiflett yesterday, and we decided that we need to focus more on increasing our test scores, and that is on his agenda, and therefore my agenda, or my agenda and his agenda.
Thank you. Sarah, you have the same question. Do you need me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Prior to COVID, our reading and math scores were declining. Now, according to the Public School Review, Rockingham County Public Schools has scored that rank in the bottom 50% for reading and math in the state of Virginia when compared to other Virginia school districts. What do you think our district should be doing to improve these scores?
One of the first things we have to do is address the teacher shortage. Our nation is dealing with a national teacher crisis. COVID showed us a lot of things about what we're doing in public schools, but what is happening is our teachers are leaving for lots of different reasons. I left for several of those same reasons. We've got to take better care of our teachers, because when our teachers are taken care of, our students get their very best. Then there's learning that's happening. We do this by making sure they have adequate planning, making sure that their pay is commensurate with our local surrounding counties. I read this morning that our county ranks 4th in teacher pay in 8 surrounding counties. We're 8th for master supplement pay. We can't keep doing that. So the first thing is we need to take better care of our teachers, but the other thing we need to do is take care of our kids. And we need to do that by making sure we have small class sizes. I've taught classes as large as 24, and I've taught them as small as 13. 13 wins every time. They get the very best of their teacher at all the very best moments of the day. We're better able to differentiate. But a final thought I have is that we need fewer programs, as in like curriculum that is mandated curriculum. We need to trust our teachers to teach what they know to teach. And in the last couple of years, our focus has been solely on reading, but we're taking a dip in math. And so I think we need to take a look at getting some more math specialists into our schools to help with that.
Thank you. The second question of the evening, Dr. McQuilkin. Will you adopt Governor Youngkin's 2023 model policies for privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents?
Thank you for the question. That's a hot topic right now, isn't it? I think everybody knows that that's on the agenda. In fact, it was on our school board agenda last night. Let me give you a little background. Back in 2021, when Governor Northam had his model policies, the states were required, or at least they were guided. This is not a regulatory document, this is a guidance document, so we were asked, guided, to adopt Governor Northam's policies. And I don't believe you even saw that memo or that item on our agenda because it never was, because Rockingham County Schools, in coordination with their legal counsel, decided that we are in compliance with all the federal and state laws that were necessary for non-discrimination, because that was a non-discrimination, and this one is a non-discrimination document. So, because we did not do it then, we think that, as I said last night, we need to talk to our legal counsel again before we make any decision whatsoever. We will always follow state law. We will always follow the federal law. We will not discriminate against any child. All children are important, and it's important to know that we will follow the law with our legal counsel.
Thank you.
Will I implement that policy? Absolutely. Governor Youngkin ran in 2021 on parents' rights. It's something that has been missing in our county forever. And that's part of why I'm running. Our parents are expecting that their children are going to be treated with dignity and respect, and we do mean all students when we say that. His policies have been cleared by the Attorney General's office. They're solid, they'll stand up. I know there are multiple court cases out there, but we're not going to wait on those court cases to decide whether or not we're going to choose to implement. Last night it came up at a board meeting because one school board member requested it to be on the agenda. And 3 school board members kicked it around and paused and delayed and suggested we needed to wait for more time. Our governor issued that first memo in 2022. We've known about the 2023 policies since July 19 of 2023, so this past summer. I don't understand why we're still talking about it. Legal counsel should have already been sought, and we should already be moving forward on this vote. I look for this to be kicked down the road until after the election, because this is such a hot topic, but I think that you all deserve to know where I stand on that issue. That issue, we're gonna vote yes on.
Thank you. Charlotte, next question. Explain to us how the school board will educate our students to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
Well, that's what we're about, isn't it? We're about making sure that we educate our students for the future. Let me talk a little bit about my daughter, Meredith. 25 years ago, when she graduated with her master's degree, she was in something called usability. I had no clue what usability was. It's usability with psychology. And 25 years later, my grandson, Alex, now has a master's degree, bachelor's and master's degree in computer science, AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. That's the hot topic. GPT. I had no clue. I know a little bit about that, like a cupful. But that's what we're about. And if we don't move our children and let them explore and learn, we're not going to be anywhere. And that's why we need to educate and look forward to the future. Our schools provide new courses all the time. MTC added an aviation course. How many of you ever had an aviation course? Probably not. I never did. We keep moving forward. We're moving forward, and we're learning, and we're growing, and we're changing. Change will always happen, and we need to be prepared to do that. Yeah.
Do you need me to repeat the question, Sarah, or did you?
Yes, please. I was jotting down a few notes.
Explain to us how the school board will educate our students to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
Okay, we're going to start by taking a look at going back to basics. When I say back to basics, I do not mean we're going back to 1983 and we're going to just kill and drill or rote memorization. That's not what I mean at all. But we've lost something along the lines with the politicization of our children in our schools. We need to go back to the basics. I can't teach my kids how to do algebra. I can't teach them how to do chemistry. But that's what our teachers are supposed to be doing, is teaching that. We're going to go back to basics. But also in that, I want to talk about critical thinking, because that seems to be missing big time in today's world. We have a lot of children who just accept what they're told and they don't ask questions. We're not teaching them how to think and how to problem solve. The job of the education system is to educate and prepare them for our workforce. And there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that we don't know about what they might encounter, but what we can do is provide them with a solid education so that no matter what, they can move forward into whatever career path that they choose.
Thank you. Charlotte, would you vote for school resource officers in every school?
That is a very good question, because you know we have 8 school resource officers currently. We have 1 in every high school, we have 1 in every middle school. And what we do not have, and what I think we need to have, is more technology and other items that support school safety, as opposed to additional resource officers. For example, we are working on, we have just last night at the school board meeting, we approved a grant proposal, and they're looking for key access to all schools. Instead of using keys, they'll have cards, and just like they do when you go to hotels, you could turn those cards on, you could turn those cards off. That's a very big safety issue. I'm also thinking that we ought to look at cameras. We have cameras in our school buses. Every school bus has a camera. There are other items that we could do that are safe, that add safety, but are not necessarily school resource officers. We support the 8 that we have, but I believe there are other avenues to look at in terms of keeping our schools safe.
Thank you. Sarah, do you need me to repeat?
I'm good.
Okay.
I support putting SROs, school resource officers, in every elementary school that we have. We have 15, and I think it's amiss that our school board has not been paying attention to that. This is one of the #1 things that I hear when I'm talking to voters in District 4 and all across the county, is that our parents are afraid for our children. They are afraid to send their kids to school. They are concerned about what goes on when there's a shooting drill or anything like that. So yes, I think we can have all the technology in the world, but that doesn't replace a person who is there right then to secure the building. And that's where I say we're gonna go ahead and find a way to pay for that. I know these things cost money. There's money in the budget. We can find it. Our kids' safety is a top priority. I agree with Dr. McQuilkin on the security and the key card access. Teachers have been asking for that for a while. And I think we need to start asking our teachers what it is they need to secure their building, because they know. I know from being in the school system and from teaching, from being on the playground, from being in the hall, I know where we're weak. Every teacher in every building can tell you where the weak spots are, and I can promise you an SRO is going to do a much better job defending us than cameras everywhere. We want the cameras for security, but I want the person in the building.
Thank you. Charlotte, tell us what you see as the most important issues facing Rockingham County schools at this time.
Yes, thank you. In general, I think we're all reeling from COVID. We're coming back from COVID across the country. But in Rockingham County schools specifically, and that is the question, I talked to Dr. Shiflett just last night about this issue once again on our chat that we had prior to the meeting. And we thought, and he thought, and I think that we need to work on attendance. And that's where we're asking for the help of the parents to please make sure that the students are in school. You can't learn, you can't get the curriculum, you can't pass the test if you don't taught the material, and you can't learn the material if you're not in school. So this is a partnership. If you listen to Dr. Shiflett and you watch his 5 videos that are on the website, if you go to the school board, then you go to the superintendent, and you look down, scroll down, you'll see his 5 videos. I suggest that you take a look, and on that video he talks about attendance, the importance of attendance. And so that's probably one of our largest. as well as we're encouraging no drugs, no vaping, no tobacco in our schools. That is absolutely critical.
Thank you. Sarah, what do you see as the most important issues facing Rockingham County schools at this time?
I've got a couple. Number one is school safety, which we just talked about. Another one is definitely attendance. Our attendance in District 4, the chronic absenteeism ranged from 20 to 30%, which is outrageous. So yes, we need to take some steps to do that, to take care of that, to get our kids back in school. But another issue that I see facing us is academic excellence. When we're doing things called de-streaming is this idea that we're going to put everybody, regardless of ability and ranges of ability, in the same classroom to learn, say, math at the same time. What we're ending up doing is we're lowering the standard for everybody. So when I have a class of 24 second graders, and I have anyone from, someone who can do 4th grade level math down to, we're still working on adding. When I have to teach a whole class of 23, all different ages, I can do it, but it's very difficult to do it well. And the reason is because I have to plan and somehow figure out in 45 minutes how I'm going to meet the needs of all of these students. We've moved away from streaming, which is where maybe just for math, I will take a group of students who need kind of the same kind of instruction. And there I can meet their needs right there where they're at and give them what they need. This benefits all students regardless of ability. So I think we need to take a look at some of those practices that we've got going on in our county to make sure that we're increasing academic excellence.
Thank you. Charlotte? What is a woman, and should males be allowed to participate in female sports?
How many questions do we have? How many?
40. 5, actually.
That follows along with the model policies because it is in Governor Youngkin's model policy. It's one of the issues in the policy. And the VHSL, the Virginia High School League, was included on this, and the Virginia High School League said that they feel very strongly about their current policy, which means that if you are wanting to, if you're a female and want to play a male sport, that you have to request, and they will take a look at the request and they will either deny or they'll accept the request or provide the request for the student. So the Virginia High School League, VHSL, definitely feels that what they're doing is just fine. And therefore, we will certainly talk to our legal people about it, but if the VHSL feels that their policy follows the non-discrimination policy, which is for all students, then I'm fine with it.
Thank you. Sarah?
I'm going to give you a straight answer. Because I think that issue is one of the most important topics in our country right now, is what is a woman? If any of you have seen Matt Walsh's movie, highly recommend. A woman is defined by her biological sex, the end. It's not defined by your feelings, the end. As far as students playing, females playing in male sports, males playing in female sports, I've got great concerns as a parent with children in the school system. I've got a daughter who maybe she'll be a track athlete. Maybe she'll be playing tennis. I want her to have all of those opportunities that women have fought for forever, for our daughters to have. They deserve those opportunities, and they should not be taken away by a biological man. So I say Governor Youngkin's policies actually do provide guidance on that, and that's very simple and easy to follow. So for me, we're not going to be doing that.
Thank you. Charlotte? Share with us the reason you have decided to run for the Rockingham County School Board District 4 seat.
I'm running for the seat because I've been on the school board since 2015, and I would like to, I'm so glad Bob May is here, because when Bob was my predecessor, he was on the school board for a term, and I asked Bob if he wanted to run again, and he said he wasn't going to run again, and I told him that if he were running again, I wouldn't run. But he isn't running again, so I'm running. And therefore, I would like to make my next term, that would be 3 terms on the school board. And I believe that's because I have the knowledge. I've been in this division as a teacher from 1986, and in the central office, I know all the ins and outs of the division. I know all of the workings. The school board members have three things that they need to do is to select a superintendent, and I've done that. I was the chair of the superintendent's committee, and we selected Dr. Shiflett. 2, we take care of the finances. I look at the bills every single week, every single month. I know exactly what's going in and out. I help make the budget that we present to the Board of Supervisors. And 3, I make policies along with all the other school board members together. And so because I'm very knowledgeable, very experienced, and I'm passionate and invested in this school division, I would like to run again.
Thank you. Sarah?
I'm running for school board because I actually voted for Dr. McQuilkin both of her terms, expecting that experience would actually serve our teachers, that it would serve our families, and it hasn't. I've been watching for the last few years, and what we need is someone who's bold enough to come forward and say, here's the problem, here's the solution, this is what we're going to be doing. I'm running because as a parent, I felt like no one has been listening to parents in Rockingham County. I'm running as a teacher because I feel like no one listens to the teachers in our county. Our teachers are incredibly hardworking, but no one is listening. And I voted for Dr. McQuilkin in 2015 because I thought she would get it. I thought she would understand the burdens that teachers bear. I thought she would understand that, and I thought she would vote for teachers. But instead, I watched a school board meeting in 2021 while I was getting my admin degree so that I could be a principal. I'm watching school board meetings, and I watched as our school board listened to a policy to increase the teacher school day by 30 minutes. So from 7 hours contract time to 7.5 hours contract time, and not one single school board member asked why. They rubber stamped yes. Rockingham County, our voters, we're tired of rubber stamps. We need people who are going to ask the hard questions, who are going to say the hard things and stand up for our kids and for our communities. That's why I'm running.
Thank you. Dr. McQuilkin, your turn.
Do I get 30 minutes, 30 seconds, because I get 30 minutes, 30 seconds.
Not 30 minutes, try 30 seconds. Go.
Actually, that 7.5 hour day had to do with planning time. Elementary teachers, such as Sarah, knows that we know that they don't have enough time to plan during the school day. Middle school, high school, they have planning time, but not the elementary. And that was an opportunity for us to increase planning time for our elementary people.
Thank you.
That's not how it's being used.
Next question for Charlotte, please. What will you do to keep inappropriate materials out of the libraries?
We have some fabulous librarians, and if anybody looks at Dr. Shiflett's video on web tools, and I suggest that you do, you'll see that he instituted a new policy. Actually, it's a procedure, it's not a policy, it's a procedure whereby any parent who wishes to know what their student is reading, they could look it up if you go to the school and you ask. If this process will allow parents to press a button and an email will be sent to them when their students take out a book or if you want to know exactly all the books they're reading, you may. So parents have the communication with their children to know what they're reading. Our librarians make the choices, and with the school, with the other people in the school, as to what is actually put in the library. Okay?
Thank you. Sarah, your response to the question?
My response is that yes, we do have incredible librarians whose heart is to get books in the hands of kids. I can relate to that. I'm a reading specialist. That's my jam. That's what I love, getting kids to learn to read and to love reading. But we have an obligation. We have an obligation as the adults in the room to provide a little bit of censorship in the book department. We do. Our kids shouldn't have full access to anything and everything. And I don't want our librarians to be the sole gatekeepers. That's tough. That is really tough. I've got an avid reader who can mow through a book in a day. He could probably mow through a book in a 45-minute advisory period. He can go into a library. I can get a book notification that he's checked out a book, but it could be read before I get a chance to stop it. We have an obligation to take care of our kids and to censor what they're reading. We've got to put together teams of people. We used to have this program called Book Finders, where it applied to what was going into classroom libraries, and you had to have 3 readers for every book that was going to be in a library, and one of those was a parent. Now we're just using that for instructional purposes, which is good, but we've got plenty of books, and I can name plenty of titles and give you plenty of descriptions after this if you're still curious. They're inappropriate. I don't want my kids' hands on them, and I don't want your kids' hands on them either. It's inappropriate. We don't need that kind of stuff in our libraries.
Thank you. Charlotte, your last question. Every candidate on the ballot for school board will have an I, independent, after their name. Why did you accept, well, that's not really for you.
Let me talk about that anyway, can I?
Absolutely.
Thank you. After I submitted that question, I called the Board of Elections again to be sure that I was absolutely correct. What Mrs. Obenshain is referring to is the fact that when the person's name appears on the ballot, Sarah's name, my name, there will not be any letters behind our names. There will not be an R, there will not be a D, there will not be an I, it will just be our names. And the reason for that is because we are constitutional officers. Constitutional officers are those like the Board of Supervisors, the sheriff, the prosecutor, the school board members. We are the constitutional officers, and as such, we are not supposed to be political. We are supposed to be in that position because we care about all the people, and that is why I feel very strongly that we need to make sure that what we are doing and the people we select are people who are invested and passionate and want to do the very best job for, as schools, all of the children of the schools.
Thank you. Sarah?
You can finish reading that question, but I think I know where it's going.
Why did you accept the endorsement of a political party?
I went after a Republican endorsement because I wanted my constituents to know exactly where I stand, what my political values are. I could hide behind independent. And for years, our school board members across the Commonwealth have been hiding behind the I. They're not voting that way. All you have to do is look at their voting record and you'll see which way they go. I'm not going to do that. I'm not telling you I'm an independent. I'm not trying to hoodwink you. I'm laying out my values, because the truth is that even when I say that I'm independent, if I were to say that, my political values, my Christian values, all of those things that make up my value and belief system are the lens with which I make decisions. I look through all of those things to make decisions in the best interest of kids, in the best interest of my family. And so it doesn't matter if you call yourself an independent. You're still using apolitical value, not independent. You're still using apolitical value as your lens through which you're making governing decisions. And I believe that our constituents in Rockingham County have had enough of that. Somehow, in our very conservative community, we ended up with a very liberal-leaning board. And we saw that in COVID, and we've seen that COVID opened our eyes up to what was going on. And I decided I'm not playing around with this. I think you all need to know who I am and what I stand for. And so that's why I sought the Republican endorsement.
Would you like a rebuttal on that one?
I am an independent. I receive literature from both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and I stand for the children. That is my basic interest, and I believe that that's what, as a constitutional officer, that's where we need to be.
Thank you. Now, ladies, I want to thank you for submitting the questions and allowing me to read them. And thank you for your answers. I would like to now call on Charlotte for your closing remarks.
I would like to start by thanking, where is Barbara? Here you are, okay. Barbara invited us to participate, and throughout this entire process, you have been extraordinarily gracious, and I appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you. Zobanje, this was wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And I'm sure the people in the audience did. I'm saying that I want to continue because we have a very good school division. If you take a look at all the school divisions in the area, we have, I think, the best. I think Bob May would agree with that. He was part of this, and we keep getting better, and we'll keep getting better. And I want to be part of this because we have a new superintendent, Dr. Shiflett, and we know where he's going. We know where we are and what progress we're making, and I would like to continue that journey with him.
Thank you. Sarah, your closing remarks, please.
I also want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I know it's a busy part of your evening or a busy part of the year, and I know that it takes time out of your day to come here and hear candidates speak. I want to thank Dr. McQuilkin for coming out and joining me in this debate, because I know that could probably, she could have said no. And I'm thankful that you agreed to come tonight. I'm thankful to our moderators, our bell ringers, and the Women's Club for setting this up. My final comments to you all really come down to this. We're looking to protect all of our children. I'm a parent, I've got kids in school right now. What we're living in our world right now is a reality to me as I'm trying to parent and figure out how to do this as a parent. I need the school's help in communicating. I don't want to co-parent with the school. I want to co-educate with the school. They are valuable partners to us as parents. But my zone is the parenting zone. That's where it needs to be. In our county and nationwide, we are time and time again seeing our school systems, and I don't mean teachers, I mean the school systems, passing out policies and things that are just not good for kids. They're not good for kids. I'm walking them, I'm teaching them, I'm living them. And so I would appreciate your vote and your consideration on November 7. I think we have an incredible division, but I think that we've got some areas that we can improve in. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the ladies from the Harrisonburg Rockingham Republican Women, I'd like to thank the candidates for being here. Thank you for your candid answers to questions, and we wish you well as you campaign between now and Election Day in November. Early voting starts September the 22nd. So to our audience, early voting begins September 22nd. And we encourage each and every one of you to get your neighbors and friends out to vote. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.